Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The September 25th, 2025 meeting of the Medford Planning Commission will now come to order. Kaylee, can we have a roll call, please?
Rachel Bennett.
Here.
Brad Bennington. Larry Busco. David Culbertson. Mark McKechnie.
Here.
EJ McManus. Jared Pulver.
Here.
Jeff Thomas.
Here.
Jim Wallen.
Here.
Roll has been taken.
Thank you, and we have a quorum, luckily. Tonight's agenda is available on the city's website for those watching from home. The order of business this evening will consist of consent calendar and written communications, minutes, public hearings, and reports. Item 20 is the consent calendar and written communications. Have the commissioners reviewed the consent calendar and written communications, and if so, are there any questions? Seeing none, can we have a motion?
Chair, I move to adopt the consent calendar and written communications as submitted.
Thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in, sorry. Yes. All those in favor. We have to do this as a roll call vote. Sorry. So, Kaylee, can we have a roll call on this one?
Mark McKechnie.
Yes.
Rachel Bennett.
Yes.
Jared Pulver.
Yes.
Jeff Thomas.
Yes.
Jim Wallen.
Yes.
Thank you. It's been approved. Item 30 is minutes. Have commissioners reviewed the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting of September 11th, 2025, and if so, are there any additions or corrections to be noted? Okay, seeing none, then the minutes will stand as submitted. Item 40 is oral requests and communications from the audience. This is an opportunity for members of the audience to address the commission on matters that are not on tonight's agenda. If you wish to speak, please come forward to the podium, sign in, and tell us your name and your concern. Okay, seeing nobody come forward, tonight's public hearing will be conducted as a quasi-judicial hearing. If you plan to testify, please listen carefully to the following prepared statement regarding the procedural rules that govern these hearings. The statement will be read by Mr. Alan Moreland, Deputy City Attorney.
I'm going to explain the rules that govern these hearings. Before the hearing begins, city staff will give a report. The report will list the criteria that govern the city's decision. After the staff report, the hearing will be open for other speakers. The applicant will first speak and may ask for rebuttal time. Following the applicant, any other interested person will be allowed to speak. Any testimony, argument, or evidence you give must relate to the criteria listed in the staff report or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulations that you believe apply to the decision. If you fail to raise an issue or do not give the commission sufficient information so that the commission and any party can respond, you will not be able to appeal that issue to the Land Use Board of Appeals. If you do not raise constitutional or other issues about any proposed condition with specificity so that the commission can respond to that issue, you will not be able to bring a court action for damages. Before the hearing is closed, anyone who needs more time to present evidence must ask for more time. If you ask, the hearing will be continued or the record will be kept open, and you will have at least 7 days to present additional written evidence.
Thank you. In order to proceed through this evening's agenda in a timely manner, except at the Commission's request, applicants giving testimony will be given 10 minutes to present their application. Individuals who have comments about these applications will be given 3 minutes to respond, or 5 minutes if they are representing a group or organization. And 5 minutes will be given to the applicant for rebuttal. Item 50.1, LDS 25-227, ZC-25-226. Consideration of Maple Park subdivision, a proposed 12-lot residential subdivision, along with the zone change of the property from SFR 00 to SFR 10. The property consists of a single parcel developed with a single-family residence and totaling approximately 1.57 acres, located at the northwest corner of Nicholas Lee Drive and Maple Park Drive. The applicant is Esteban Gonzalez Duran, The agent is Richard Stevens and Associate. The planner is Dustin Severs. Does any commissioner have a conflict of interest or ex parte contact to disclose regarding this application? Does anyone in attendance wish to question the commission as to conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts? Okay, seeing none. Dustin, how about a staff report?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Dustin Severs with the Planning Department. I'll be presenting the staff report for the Maple Park subdivision. This is a land division along with a zone change. The criteria for a land division are found in section 10.2025 and as shown in its entirety on the screen. And the criteria for a zone change are found in section 10.204 as summarized on this slide. Begin by looking at our project summary. So the subject site consists of a single parcel. It totals approximately 1.57 acres and is developed with a single family residence. It has two street frontages. Along its southerly boundary is Maple Park Drive, which is classified as a standard residential street. And along its easterly boundary is Nicholas Lee Drive, which is classified as a minor residential street. There's very few street improvements along the frontages. Each of the applicant will be required to do all street improvements prior to final plat approval. Look at the surrounding areas. You can see is mostly single-family residential, pretty much all single-family residential. Next slide shows an image of the site looking north from Maple Park Drive. And now we're looking south from Nicholas Lee Drive. You see there's no sidewalk or just have the pavement going. So there'll be some street lights, sidewalks, full works to be required in terms of street improvements. Site's general land use plan designation is urban residential. Its zoning is SFR 00, which is our holding zone that we apply to properties when they're annexed in the city. They remain SFR 00 until the time they go through a zone change application. That's when we look at facility adequacy. And the proposal is for Maple Park subdivision. This is a proposed 12-lot residential subdivision along with a zone change request going from SFR 00 to SFR 10. So we'll look at each of the applications in turn. We'll start with the land division application. So again, they are proposing 12 lots, and the commission can find that based on the size of the lot and the zoning that 12 lots falls within the minimum maximum allowed for the property. The commission can also find that each lot meets the dimensional standards of the SFR 10 zone in terms of lot area, lot width, depth, and frontage. As you see, lots 4, 5, and 12 are corner lots, so they're required to meet that special extra 10 feet of width, and they do satisfy that requirement. Lot 9 is proposed as a stormwater pond or detention pond. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, there is a culvert pipe at the southwest corner of Maple Park Drive, so there is a ditch runs along the westerly boundary. So as shown on the plat, there is a 15-foot easement for that ditch. In terms of access, lots 1 through 4 will be taking direct access off of a public street, while lots 5 through 12 are proposed to take access off a major minimum access easement. And so let's talk about minimum access easement. So they're allowed to serve up to 8 units. So there is 8 lots here. However, 1 is the pond, so we can discount 1, so that leaves them with 1 additional unit they could get on this minimum access easement, and should note that ADUs do not count towards that minimum or maximum. And per the Public Works report, they do meet the requirements in terms of the street connectivity and our block length standards. Public Works is supportive of the minimum access easement. And looking at our zone change, not a whole lot to look at zone changes. We just had the 3 criteria. Traffic impact analysis was not required for the application. As you can see, the property does abut the SFR 10 zone, so it does meet that locational criteria. And based on the report submitted by the various departments, facilities will be adequate at the time of development. So all those criteria are satisfied. So I'll finish off with our findings and recommendation. Staff has reviewed the applicant's findings and conclusions and recommends that the commission adopt the findings as presented. And with that, we ask that you adopt the applicant's findings and adopt the final order for approval of LDS 25-227 and ZC 25-226. And that's per the staff report dated September 18, 2025, and includes exhibits A through N. With that, I can take questions. We also have Mr. Clark Stevens, who's the applicant's agent, and from the Public Works Department, we have Mr. Doug Burrow. So I'll probably be deferring to him if you have questions related to traffic and/or the block length standards. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Okay, seeing none, we will open the public hearing and ask the applicant to come forward and tell us about the project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, for the record, my name's Clark Stevens with Richard Stevens and Associates. We're here this evening representing Mr. Esteban Duran in this zone change application and concurrent subdivision. As staff has presented to you, the application for zone change to SFR 10 is in compliance with section 10.202, or excuse me, 04, and the subdivision land division is in compliance with section 10.202. We meet the block length standards and the minimum access for those lots within this subdivision. And we propose that stubbing to the western boundary due to a lot of it with the wetlands and that tributary to Little Elk Creek. So with that, I'll conclude and be happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Any questions? I have one then. Tell me how this proposed minimum major minimum access is supposed to be addressed.
We propose this due to the fact if we did a public street that there wouldn't be sufficient lot depth within this area, because that's only a 31-foot easement as proposed. So if we did a minimum residential street, that would be a 55-foot dedication. So those lots, 5 through 12, would actually be shrunk in size and would be substandards. We couldn't meet lot depth for at least one row. And then we'd have to also do duplexes then to make up for that density. Another factor we looked at, if you take a bigger picture, is the lots to the west. They're only a half acre in size, and if we proposed a public street, that street would be required to be extended to Lozier Lane, or excuse me, North Ross Lane. And so one or both of those lots to the west, that front North Ross Lane, would be basically undevelopable at that point. So they're only 100 feet in width, half acre in size, and it would be, the bigger picture would be better to have a shared access along that common boundary. So yeah, so 860 and 858, those two lots right there, is just about where that minimum access easement would go. So it would basically render those two, both of those lots unbuildable for, you know, single family or any future subdivision at that point.
So, but how is it supposed to work? Are you creating a homeowners association to deal with maintenance and?
Right, those all be part of the final plat. Yes, all the maintenance easements and all of that is required as part of final plat. And part of that storm drainage plan, if you looked at the engineer's preliminary grading, we're providing a access way for that there. So there's also a fire turnaround, you know, that can be, you know, be a dual purpose at that point. So both fire and public works are in agreement to this design, and it can work as far as meeting our minimum density. If we have to lose some of this, some of these lots, or do a public street, we're then forced to do duplexes. So we're trying to have something more affordable for the first-time home buyer, having a single-family dwelling. That's the goal and the intent.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Any
you.
other questions? Okay.
Reserve
I assume
time
you
for-
want to reserve time for rebuttal if
Yes.
needed? All right. Okay, with that said, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak regarding this application? All right, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. Does planning have any additional comments?
No, thank you.
Engineering have any additional comments? No, thank you, Chair. Legal have any
No.
comments? I'm assuming you don't need rebuttal time, so we will close the public hearing. And do we have a motion for consideration?
Chair, I move to adopt the applicant's findings as recommended by staff and adopt the final order for approval of LDS-25-227 and ZC-25-226 per the staff report dated September 18th, 2025, including exhibits A through N.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? So I've got a discussion on this. I intend to vote against this. I think it does not meet the criteria for access. I can't imagine in my wildest horrors how 8 units off of a single driveway is going to function in any kind of practical application, and I think it's a misuse of the zoning ordinance. So that's my thoughts. If there's no other discussion, Kaylee, can we have a roll call, please?
Jim Wallen,
No.
Rachel Bennett,
Yes.
Jared Pulver,
Yes.
Jeff Thomas,
No.
Mark McKechnie.
No.
We have 2 yeses and 3 nos.
Okay, motion fails. So come back with a different plan. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 50.2, ZC 25-244, GLUP 25-268. Consideration of a general land use plan amendment along with zone changes for 3 contiguous parcels totaling approximately 4.95 acres. The request is to change the GLUP map designation from UH to SC and change the zoning designation from MFR 30 to CSP. The parcels are fronted by Lozier Lane located approximately 650 feet south of the intersection of Lozier Lane and West Main Street. The applicant is La Clinica. The agent is CSA Planning Limited. The planner is Liz Hamlin. Does any commissioner have a conflict of interest or ex parte contact to disclose regarding this application? All right, seeing none, does anyone in attendance wish to question the commission as to conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts? Okay, seeing nothing there. Liz, how about a staff report?
Thank you, Commissioners. Liz Hamblin with the Planning Department. And like you've said, I'm going to be presenting the General Land Use Plan Amendment 25-265 and the Zone Change 25-44. The approval authority for Type 4 land division or land procedures is the City Council. They'll have the final decision making. The Planning Commission is authorized to act as the advisory agency, forwarding a recommendation to City Council. This is scheduled for hearing before City Council on October 15th, 2025. For the zone change application, the Planning Commission is the final decision-making authority. The minor comprehensive plan criteria is found in Medford Land Development Code 10.222 sub 2. It's addressed on the screen. Our zone change criteria has been addressed in the previous application, but again, it's summarized on the screen. So a little bit about the project summary. This property is located on Lozier Lane, south of West Main Street, and the intersection of Lozier Lane and West Main Street. It consists of 3 vacant properties totaling approximately 4.62 acres. Right now, the GLUP is urban high-density residential with a zone of MFR 30. There are no overlays for the property, and the proposal is to change the GLUP from UH to service commercial and the zone from MFR 30 to commercial service professional. The surrounding properties are kind of mixed. It's mostly urban residential, which is our low-density residential GLUP. And then they do have some community commercial GLUP to the north. And then the zoning is predominantly the county zoning at this point, but we do have community commercial zone to the north, and then SFR 00 to the east. And this is just a bigger picture of the surrounding GLUP. And then the zone change again. So this is the site looking west from Lozier Lane. So into the issues and analysis of the project. It is going from urban high-density residential that does permit multifamily MFR 20 and MFR 30 zones. The maximum zoning, or the maximum density for this property right now is close to 130 dwelling units. And then service commercial does allow for multifamily to be permitted in it. It also allows for commercial uses, and the proposed use is going to be for a medical clinic on this site. One of the things with the commercial zones is that it does allow for MFR 30 with no maximum density. So if the medical clinic doesn't come through, they still could propose a multifamily development on this site with no maximum density. So on to the findings. In the staff report, it addresses all of the criteria. It does meet the criteria for the minor comprehensive plan amendment. The applicant did a nice job with their findings as well. For the zone change criteria, we can find that all of the applicable criteria have been met. We do have an Exhibit A, a condition of approval with the Public Works Department, and we'll get into the traffic impact analysis in a minute, but it does have a condition of approval attached with this zone change, so it will carry a restricted zoning at this point. So the Goal 10 housing, so it's it requires that plans shall encourage the availability of adequate numbers of needed housing units. A lot of times people ask the question, why are we going from high density residential to commercial housing? And we did address that with multifamily is permitted in commercial zones. And so we aren't losing the ability to have multifamily. Our housing capacity analysis that was adopted in July of 2023 does identify that we have a surplus of urban high-density residentially zoned GLUPed property in the city. So we're at a surplus of about 50 acres. The commercial zone doesn't prelude the property, again, from being developed as a residential development. And then the loss of the 4.5 acres of multifamily zoning won't have an appreciable impact to the current stock of usable residential land. The traffic impact analysis, which is Exhibit C, it does say that it's Exhibit XX in the staff report, but it is Exhibit C for you. It studied the impacts of MFR 30 to CSP. It also evaluated the addition, like what potential trips they had. In the Public Works report, Exhibit D, here's the condition of approval, that the development shall modify the traffic signal at the intersection of Lozier Lane and Stewart Avenue. So we did impose that as a condition of approval with this project. We do have a recommendation based on the findings and conclusion that all the approval criteria are met or not applicable, that the Planning Commission forward a favorable recommendation to City Council for the approval of GLUP 25-268. And then the other action is to adopt the findings as recommended by staff and approve the final order for approval for zone change 25-244 per the staff report dated September 18th, 2025. And that includes exhibits A through G. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. We do have the agent of record here to help with those questions as well.
Thank you, Liz. Any questions from? Okay, not seeing any. So with that, we will open the public hearing and ask the agent to come forward and talk about the project.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Jay Harlan with CSA Planning with offices at 4497 Brown Ridge here in Medford. I think Liz did a good job going through the criterion and summarizing the request. I just kind of have a few comments to add. One is, obviously it's a GLUP amendment, right? So there's not necessarily a certainty that what's being contemplated will actually go there, but La Clinica does have a purchase and sale agreement in place for the property, and so this is a contingency. So as far as everything we know in the real world, I think that's the objective here is to if this is recommended for approval and ultimately approved by the council, for them to close on it and then do a La Clinica facility there. The findings provide some discussion of the various things that they would like to do here, and I would just point out that there really is pretty minimal healthcare services on this side of town. I wouldn't call it an official analysis, but this afternoon, one of the employees in our office was looking, just for example, for dental offices, and she actually couldn't find any dental offices on like Google Maps that's west of Court Street. So that's a pretty big chunk of the city that literally doesn't have a dental office, right? Which is a pretty basic healthcare service. So this would allow that type of use to go in this area. As Liz mentioned, it is near the commercial hub of Lozier Lane, North Phoenix, and West Main. You've got Thunderbird there and Albertsons, and so it's a kind of logical extension. And the plan does recognize service commercial as being an example of a kind of a step-down compatibility zoning district between commercial areas and residential areas, and I think it's an appropriate location for that. It's also near transit, which is serviced in that area, and for the kind of services that La Clinica would provide, being walking distance to a transit stop, I think is a big benefit. And the other thing, Liz touched a little bit on the land supply overall issues when you're dealing with a plan amendment. Our analysis, we sort of looked at recent projects that have been approved, and then also sort of projects that I would call in the pipeline for multifamily development of commercial. It was on the order of about 1,700 units. So a lot of Medford's commercial land is then being developed with housing. And really this request is one, and while it's true you could do housing, the goal here is to actually have some commercial land that has commercial things in it. And that is what La Clinica envisions. So with that, I'll wrap up my comments in whole and would just request the Planning Commission for a favorable recommendation. We do have one request to a revision to the traffic condition of approval, and that would be, as it's currently worded, it's first building permit, and full build out of the site puts a fair amount of traffic through that intersection, but it is a safety issue that has not a, like in the grand scheme of crash rates, like not a lot of safety issues, and that's something really the city, those issues shouldn't necessarily all be on the back of one property, even for its very first little bit of development. And so we would request just, the code recognizes that 24 trips or less is not a significant impact. And this is a 5-acre site. It'll take a while to build out. And it may well be that the very first phase triggers it, but we would request the Planning Commission revise that to say that requirement would apply when development of the site puts 24 or more trips through that intersection, because that really is the point under the code at which you're required to do those mitigations. So we would request that sort of meet in the middle on the timing on that condition. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Jay. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Is that peak trips or?
Yeah, peak hour. Yeah, 24, anything less than 25 is not considered significant, right? And when you look at the traffic study, I didn't add them up precisely, but I think the total potential of the site was on the order in that intersection. I want to say it looked like about 80 trips-ish, right? So 25 would be a third maybe, or a quarter. And so it's quite conceivable that the very first project doesn't actually hit that intersection with 24 trips.
And then just to kind of wrap things around this, I'm assuming that your client kind of looked around that area for existing service commercial property that was of a sufficient size that could accommodate the clinic, and they couldn't find anything that was.
Not for their long-term plans. I think the initial phase could be met on some other pieces, but in their sort of overall organizational planning, they actually plan to add quite a bit more stuff in that
Okay.
area. Yeah.
All right, so, okay.
Thank you.
Any other? Okay, not seeing any, I assume you want to reserve time for rebuttal? Depends what Doug says. Okay, all right. All right, with that said, is there anyone in the audience that would like to come and speak before this? Okay, make sure that you sign in legibly and tell us your name and your address and offer your testimony for consideration by the commission. You can sign in afterwards if you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Hello. My name is Alicia Van Riggs, rhymes with Patricia. I'm honored to work at La Clinica, and I need to state my address. Sorry. My name is Alicia, and I live at 317 Live Oak Loop in Central Point, Oregon. I am here on behalf of my employer, La Clinica, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to review our application. I very much appreciate all the time and effort that you've taken to look at it so far. I don't have anything to add to Jay's testimony or his report, but if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, I'm happy to attempt to do so.
Thank you. Any questions of? Okay, thank
Thanks.
you for coming.
Thank you so much.
All right. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak regarding this? Okay, planning have anything to add? Doug, I have a question for you too on the intersection, obviously.
Good evening, Chair, fellow commissioners. This is Doug Burrows with your Public Works Department. Yeah, go ahead with your question.
The intersection that we're talking about with the permissive, is that the same intersection?
Sure
that-
is.
So are we sharing this or?
Yeah, so
what's
it's
the
a
deal?
first come, first serve.
Oh.
So I was, Mr. Harlan may not know, this was a condition on another zone change and is currently, I
Almost
believe,
ready for permit.
in process. So this might be a moot point. And hopefully that will help Mr. Harlan accept what I have to say. But a little surprised by the 24-trip thing. Would have liked to known about that ahead of time. To say I'm uncomfortable changing a condition of a traffic impact analysis at the podium is an understatement. I don't think it's anybody's place in this room to do that. 24 trips does not sound like a lot, and I don't think it is a lot. But I'm not in a position to say that's okay, because these are done by professional traffic engineers, and I think it's a bad practice to start modifying them at the podium.
On the
So
fly.
I would recommend against the 24-trip modification.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
this is a general practice, so. And, yeah, it might be taken care of.
So-
You would be more familiar with that than I am.
I was just going to disclose to Mr. Harlan that the condition may become moot because I happen to be working on a permit that has that same condition for that same intersection. And it looks like it's going to be done by a different party. So,
That's it for me. Did you have another question, or was
no, that was, I just wanted to.
Yeah, that
I was
you connected
basically
the
trying
dots
to
very
decide
well.
if we should disclose this in
No.
public, but it's
That
all
was it.
public record anyway, so.
All right, thank you.
Yep, okay. All right, legal have any? Do you want to reserve some time for, or would you like to rebuttal?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, Carl, I'm going to ask you a question, even though you haven't spoken yet on this, but yeah, I don't want you to feel left out.
Yeah, want to make sure that you were needed tonight.
So I guess the question is not well-formed, but I guess as it relates to GLUP changes sort of this nature, I guess, have we seen things like this? I mean, I know there have been GLUP changes. I'm not saying there haven't. This one's kind of unique to me because it seems like it's like we like this parcel and it would work for us, but it's not, GLUP or zoned right, so we want to change it. And I guess I've heard the staff report and everything else, but to me, the argument that it could still be used for housing, like it's like, well, you wouldn't change it if you were going to use it for housing, so because it's already zoned for that. So I guess I'm just struggling a little bit with that, and I just don't know if we're setting a precedence for GLUP changes of this nature. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
I don't have a specific example in mind, but I mean, we change GLUP designations and zonings up and down kind of all the time. So I don't think this is unique. I just don't think we do them probably as often as we just do zone changes, right? I mean, we have an urban growth boundary, we did a bunch of GLUPing with that, and then everybody's coming in and kind of matching the zoning. So we don't see that a lot. But there are properties in this case where, you know, the applicant or who wants to purchase it has something in mind. It doesn't work in its current form and it needs to change. We have the backing of our comp plan, I think, to do that. We are seeing, as Mr. Harlan has pointed out, lots of multifamily in our commercial zones, so we're not losing out on that. And I think on the flip side, if somebody needs it for commercial, we have that, we can use that back and forth to do that appropriately. So this is not an egregious change. Someone's not doing like 500 acres of something, you know, something less than 5 acres is appropriate. And we do try to kind of keep track of these as we go through. So if we see something that's kind of off, then we'll know. But at this point, we don't see anything like that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Harlan, you wanted to offer some rebuttal?
Yeah, just, I was gonna, speaking to Carla's point, there's one I can think of, there's some commercial that got done north of Providence, similarly quasi-judicial, right? Most of the GLUP amendments that have been happening in the city now have been adjusting these urbanization plans and moving the vacant land with not much around it, colors around, right? But it is not uncommon that you come in and do a quasi-judicial amendment to make a change to one piece. It does happen. It's really a locational question, right? Like if you're doing commercial in the middle of a residential and there's no commercial there and there's no higher order streets, then it's like, like what's going on here? But it's pretty common to do a quasi-judicial amendment that essentially kind of extends an existing commercial area a little bit if it makes sense to do it. So that's really what the request is. And as to, just to clarify what Doug said, we're not asking to change the traffic study. The traffic study says what it says, right? I'm just simply pointing out that in the code, the below 25 trips is not considered a significant impact, and the entire cost of that signal head change is being put on one, on one project. Now, Mr. McKechnie added some additional evidence to the record, so it may not matter, right? And it sounds like in the real world, it's not going to matter. But
And I can tell you the cost is about 15 grand.
yeah, that's the estimate we have is precisely in that range, right? That's right. So it may not matter in this instance, but I do think, that's just my perspective is that, the timing of it, can be the case where those kind of safety things are very different than capacity, where it's like a few trips and now you're pushing it over something. The safety thing is like it's a sort of a citywide, all the traffic going through the intersection kind of thing, right? And a relatively small number of crashes. And sometimes you don't even know really what caused the crashes ultimately, right? So that was the reason for the request. And if you can do it, great, but we're not going to die on that hill either. So,
Okay.
especially if Mark's client's going to do it. So
Yeah.
thank you.
You lucked out on that one. Okay, with that, we will close the public hearing. And do we have a motion for consideration?
Chair, based on the findings and conclusions that all the approval criteria are met or are not applicable, I move that we forward a favorable recommendation to City Council for approval of GLUP-25-268 and adopt the applicant's findings as recommended by staff and adopt the final order for approval of ZC-25-244 per the staff report dated September 18th, 2025, including exhibits A through G.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this application? Seeing none, Kaylee, can we have a roll call, please?
Mark McKechnie,
Yes.
Rachel Bennett,
Yes.
Jeff Thomas,
Yes.
Jared Pulver,
Yes.
Jim Wallen.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
Thank you. Motion passes. Good luck with your project. Okay, and that concludes tonight's public hearings. Moving on to item 60, presentation of reports. Transportation Commission, Mr. Pulver.
We did meet yesterday. We didn't have any action items, so I guess Real briefly, I'll just say, we did get a report from RVTD. It was kind of interesting because I guess, they've had a dramatic decrease in service. But if I understood the report correctly, it sort of sounds like it isn't necessarily, at least in the short term, it's a cash flow issue, not a funding issue, which was a surprise to me because I guess they have multiple sources of funding, but the federal portion is a timing issue, not the funds have been appropriated, they're just not getting them in a timely fashion. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And that's the other couple things that we talked about. One was some relation to downtown speeds, which I think is going to go to council probably for basically the bulk of downtown to be at 20 miles an hour. And then I guess they're discussing parking in all of downtown and potentially modifying some of the 1 hour zones to 2 hour zones. So they were just kind of interesting discussion pieces.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas.
Can I ask you a question about that? So
Oh.
we do a lot of the things that we're doing here are directly related to bus routes. So as those bus routes either fall off, does that change the things that we've, like whether you can have no parking or I mean, I just wondered if they're still intertwined or once you set it in stone, then you move forward.
Yeah, and Carl, you might want to jump in on that. I mean, I'm pretty confident that, well, the two things I can say is I think that I think it was 2 routes that came in. I think it was CFEC driven, wasn't it?
Yes.
And those 2 routes still exist. Their frequency probably has changed, but I think the answer from the state was still like, it
Yeah, I
wasn't
think
so
it's
much about
which are
hitting.
the most frequent.
Yeah,
so
the
I
most
think they
frequent,
still
not
may
so much
apply.
the frequency. So I think it probably still applies the same way it would, but if you think something different.
Yeah, we've just kind of been trying to keep track of what RVTD is doing and what their route changes are. And so if there is something that is a dramatic decrease, then we may need to look at those frequent transit corridors and come back with something potentially. But we haven't noted anything yet.
But it seems to me it just means you're not required to put in parking. It doesn't mean you can't put in parking. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. Yes,
Yeah.
it just says you don't have to.
And our
There's no
minimums
minimum.
and maximums remain unchanged regardless of what.
Right. We still have that in our code, the minimum maximum parking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Thomas, the Site Plan and Architectural Commission.
We have not met since our last meeting.
Okay. All right. Planning Department.
Good evening, Commissioners. Carla Palladino with your Planning Department. So next week, October 1st, City Council will have hearings. The Edwards Street Transportation Facility that you heard on the 11th, that will be going for approval. Also, the Belknap Street vacation that you also recommended to them will be going, as well as the downtown plan. There is a transportation safety action plan that the Public Works Department is working on. It's a pretty big document trying to look at our kind of critical intersections that have either fatal or severe injuries that have been occurring and trying to find solutions to those intersections. So there's a whole document being developed around that. There is an open house next week on Thursday evening at Rogue X from 5:30 to 7:30. So if you're interested, please come to that. There's no Planning Commission on October 9th. So first meeting in October, there's no business for you. We will have a study session on October 13th, and it will be joint with the Transportation Commission. So keep that in mind. And then there is business for you on October 23rd and the first meeting in November 13th. And then obviously we won't be here for Thanksgiving, so enjoy that time off.
Okay. So no meeting on the 9th of October.
No meeting.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for me or anything?
Any other questions? No?
Thank
Okay.
you all.
All right. Messages and papers from the chair, nothing from me. Remarks from the city attorney.
No remarks.
Propositions and remarks from commission members. Not seeing anything there. Okay, I guess we are adjourned.